Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I'm going to show you one trick to control harsh vocals. We're going to be talking about harshness control today, but before we dive in, if you're ready to go a little bit deeper into the vocal mixing process and perfect your EQ strategy, then I have just the tool for you. It is my ultimate guide to vocal EQ. It's a simple PDF that will walk you through step by step how to EQ your vocal to get a polished and professional sounding vocal mix without any more of the guesswork. It is completely free and you can download it below using the link in the video description. Now let's jump in here and start looking at this vocal. As always, let me start by playing you this vocal inside the mix, and I will mute out the harmony so we can focus in on the lead vocal here, which is the one we're going to be controlling our harshness on. So here's the vocal inside the mix, and then I'll solo it up and you can hear the vocal by itself, and I'll mute out the effects as well so you can focus in on our vocal tone.
Stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time.
So this is a live vocal tracked off the floor, which comes with its own set of problems, and that's a different video, but we're going to be talking about controlling the harshness in a vocal today. Let me show you what we're doing, and we'll mute it out. You can hear the harshness that comes back in our vocal. What we're doing to contain this element is we're using another aspect of our multiband. So I use the multiband here as a de-esser, although Studio One's new version does have its own de-esser in it. So this 4K and up band, that's just our de-esser. What we're using for harshness control is this separate band below it, going from 2K to 4K. So we're compressing just that range to keep our harshness under control. Let me play you this vocal again, and I will bypass this band. You can hear the element, that harshness, that edginess that comes up inside our vocal with this bypassed.
Stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy.
You can hear when we bypass that, things get a little bit too edgy, a little bit too pokey on some of the words, and when we kick it back in, everything levels out a little bit more. The vocal gets a little bit more pleasant to listen to as a whole, which is what you want. You don't want your vocal to be edgy, otherwise that's going to turn your listeners off, right? And that's just some of the problems of sometimes vocalists can have that kind of attack on their voice, or sometimes it's the microphone you're using that you're going to emphasize that 2 to 4K range on a vocalist. That'll happen sometimes with dynamic microphones, which is what we are using here for live tracking. Sometimes they have a little bump in that 2 to 4K range, which can very easily make your vocalist edgy or pokey. So sometimes you have to use this to control that harshness that you get from your vocal. Or sometimes if they're a little bit too heavy on the microphone, right, if they're going for it a little bit too hard, you can get a little bit of extra boost here, and that you'll need to control with a multiband like this. Let's jump in here to our EQ, and we can kind of look at the range that we're attacking here and controlling a little bit better.
Stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time.
Those are those frequencies that we're getting. Those are those ear-piercing frequencies that the more you hear of them, the more it hurts your ears, the less you want to listen to the song, right? Now, we could just pull all of those out, right? But they're not happening all of the time. And we don't want to just make a dip here and risk, neutering our vocal tone or getting rid of all of the presence in our vocal. We don't want that. That's why we're using our multiband. Our multiband here is only going to activate, only going to pull down those harsh frequencies when they get too much. So we can set the threshold at a point where it's not taking away from our vocal tone, but it's keeping those harsh frequencies in place and controlling them, keeping them under control, or taming them, as to say. Let's do one more time here on our multi-bend. We'll do a bypass and we'll kick it back in. And notice over here, this is our reduction meter for just this band. And you can see it's only kicking in when we have too much of that frequency range, which is our 2 to 4K.
Stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time.
So it looks like we're doing a lot of reduction on some of these lines, and in reality we are. You can hear it. It's a big effect. It's not subtle. When we kick this in, the vocal gets much more pleasant to listen to because we have that reduction on this range. Let me solo up this range so you can hear just the range we're attacking, just this 2 to 4K area.
Stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy.
Now that's an important range on a vocal. Without that, you're not going to have the presence, you're not going to have the competitiveness that your vocal needs to cut through a mix. This range here from usually about 1K to 5K has a lot of energy from your vocal that helps it compete, especially in a big mix. So you don't want to neuter this range. What helps sometimes is to go too far, so to neuter it, to get rid of all that energy there, and then you're adding the energy back in rather than reducing it. Sometimes it's hard to hear when it's good enough when you're pulling it down rather than pulling it up. So what I like to do, we'll do it here, is pull the threshold all the way down and then ease it up till you have enough energy in that range and it's not harsh. Rather than reducing harshness, you're putting the energy back into this range. So let's go too far and bring it back.
Stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time.
So we've clearly gone too far now, and now we just have a kind of disconnect between the low end on our vocal and then the nice shimmery top end. So now what we can do is we can pull this up, and we're going to hear that high mid energy come back in that gives our vocal the competitive edge it needs to sit on top of the mix. So instead of getting rid of this range, we're adding it back.
Stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time.
So you'll have the range to pull it up, and then you can ease it up kind of click by click, and you'll add some of that range back in, and you can decide, is it too harsh or is it just the energy that I need for the vocal to cut through? And you'll hear the further you go, you'll get some of that harshness back in, but we're still controlling quite a bit of it. Let's put it back into the mix here. We can kick our effects back in, and we'll do one more A-B on our multi-band here, inside the mix.
Stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time, don't get out of line. Oh boy, stay in time.
It's not too much. We're not hurting our vocal tone by just removing a group of frequencies. We are controlling a range of frequencies when they get too much. So next time, if you have a vocal that's a little bit too harsh, you can use your EQ to find that range of frequencies. So for me, it was between 2 and 4K. There was a group of frequencies that would pop up. They were a little bit edgy, a little bit pokey, and then you can use a multi-band compressor to just attack that range. So between 2 and 4K, we have our threshold set that when it gets too much, it doesn't go over, it doesn't hurt your ears, it doesn't get edgy, but we still preserve the energy that we get to make our vocal competitive in that range. I hope that was helpful for you. Like I said, if you're ready to dial in your vocal EQ and take your vocal mixes to the next level, I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It's my ultimate guide to vocal EQ, and you can download it using the link in the video description to start creating more professional mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.